Yeah.
I'm gonna check on David and Raza. How you two doing? You okay?
Man, life is hard.
Life is hard. It's hard.
It's so hard. It's hard out there, man.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to A Life in Six Songs. I'm your host, David Reese, and I'm joined by my co-host, Carolina, who also happens to be my wife, and my childhood friend, Raza.
Hey.
Hello.
For those of you that are new to the podcast, each week we embark on an epic adventure to find the songs that are stuck to us like audible tattoos that tell the story of who we are and where we've been to help us figure out where we want to go. It's a life story told through 6 songs. So let's go have a listen together. Our guest today is Dr. Tyler Calabrese. Tyler is a licensed psychologist involved in a variety of practices from VA evaluations to therapy to psilocybin clinical trials. With music being such an integral part of every facet of his life, Tyler co-founded and organizes an annual art and mental health event called Speak Your Truth, which seeks to stop the stigma of mental illness by having a variety of different artists, including musicians, share their struggles with mental illness. Tyler, welcome to A Life in Six Songs.
Thank you for having me. This is a real treat. Been excited for this since I first caught wind of it. So
Great. Yeah. We're happy to have you here. Carolina, take it away.
Sure. Super happy to have you, Tyler. Like, we're all pumped as we read through your answers to the questionnaire and looking at the songs that you picked and the very personal memories tied to them. It was very clear from reading your answers that music plays a significant role in your life. And so we'd like to kick things off with asking you just what role music plays in your life.
great question. Well, I think most people, would say that music is a big part of their life, or like that music is a religion. And for me, I think that's definitely the case. In the sense that it's something that gives me hope and gives me gives me solace when I need it. Gives me energy. It's something that I wear on my sleeve, like people wear their crosses. I wear my Rock Brigade shirt and rep my Colombian hardcore band, or and I tithe in terms of supporting the musicians through record stores, through direct pay for the artists, going to shows, merchandise, and something that is sort of a bridge to when I go other places and connecting with different cultures. So yeah, it's like a religion.
Yeah.
Don't tell my grandma I said that.
Don't tell my grandma I said that. That's hilarious.
I'll be sure to email it to her.
No, but it's important and it's key. And sometimes we attach ourselves to those things that drive us or hold special places in our lives at fairly young ages. So to kick us off, we'll start with our first song and prompted question. What's a song that reminds you of your parent or guardian or foster parent?
All right. Great question. One that I definitely was tried to answer, Rorschach style, projective test style, like kind of what first came to mind. I had one for my dad as well, Pink Floyd, Breathe. But for my mom was definitely Whitney Houston. I Want to Dance with Somebody. For whatever reason, I just remember so well, like as a kid, just cruising around with her in the car, and that Whitney Houston, early '80s, was top of the charts, a constant presence on the pop radio, and she loved Whitney, and Whitney was I don't know, somebody that she kind of gravitated to as like a strong woman, and somebody who my mom had definitely been through some challenges in her life as well, like Whitney had, and different ways, of course. But yeah, that song kind of stuck with me, and we were at just the reason why it really resonated. We were at a family wedding in Kansas, where where she grew up, and she was around a lot of her family, and she just was so happy listening to that song, and was dancing with me, and it was crazy. I felt so emotional that I like was crying on the dance floor listening to it, because it just it made me happy to see her happy, and that it seemed to bring up some good times in her life, some simpler times, and yeah, go Whitney.
Yeah.
Let's take a listen.
Yeah. Wow.
How does it feel now listening to it again?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like instantly put back there. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful moment. Yeah, and I mean, Whitney, stayed beyond that. The Bodyguard soundtrack was like one of her favorites too, and that was like CD was just like everywhere we went. That thing was blasting.
Yeah, when I was preparing the songs and stuff for the podcast, hearing this one again, it just like rocks. It like instantly put me in just a good mood in that way. But very much like you said too, it definitely just brings you back. Like you're instantly transported to riding in your mom's car, or watching MTV or something, for sure.
Big time. And I don't typically gravitate to that type of music, but I don't know. It just it kind of hits for me, for whatever reason. I still haven't seen the movie. I mean, I heard it's great.
What?
Whoa. Well, there's your homework for the weekend.
Yeah,
I
there you
feel
go.
like The Bodyguard just does not get the credit it deserves. Just saying. But I'm a Kevin Costner
the movie,
fan, so.
the album, like the whole picture.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
That was actually I wasn't a Whitney fan. I remember the movie. That was actually my first exposure to Whitney Houston. I think I was probably like 10 or 11 at the time. And Kevin Costner, I think that was his next movie after the Robin Hood movie that he did. So it was a complete
Prince of Thieves.
Oh my God, yes.
Prince of Thieves, yeah.
All for one.
And I remember watching like the previews and stuff, and I was just like, wow, it's that it's a dude who's playing Robin Hood in a completely different role. And I remember they were trying to, at the time, they were trying to make parallels between Whitney Houston's character and I think Mariah Carey, who was like the up and coming star at the time. I think Whitney was definitely much more established at that point. And yeah, it was a great movie. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah, got to.
And I heard from someone recently that said, a lot of times when someone says they haven't seen a movie that like is a one everyone said, it's like this thing. Oh, how can you not? Why would you? and this person was saying like switch that. So rather than make the person feel bad, be excited for them. Be like, oh, I'm so excited you get to see it for the first time again. And have that first moment. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think like Carolina said, you got some homework to do.
Right.
No, just enjoy.
I mean, not to turn it around completely, but fast forward to obviously more recently, after Whitney passed away. So Kevin Costner, I think he delivered either the eulogy or he made some sort of a memorial with her funeral party. And I remember, I think either someone who's a bit younger than me, I remember them just asking, why Kevin Costner of all people, right? They obviously hadn't watched the movie. They didn't realize that there was a connection. That was Kevin Costner's connection to Whitney. But yeah. I think most people think of Kevin Costner as like the dude from Yellowstone now. So
exactly.
It's like, no, he was also
back.
He was actually the bodyguard.
Don't forget Waterworld.
Right. He's been training for this.
It wasn't the pop
life.
star, it was the bodyguard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's cool though. And I think talking about how you got emotional years later, like at a wedding, so you're much older now at this point, kind of dancing with your mom at the time. It's always impressive to me how songs still like come back to, I don't know, like punch you in the gut in that way. And I joke, I teach workshops and stuff, and we talk about kind of relating back to being a kid and feeling included and stuff. And I'll joke and say, like, we're all just taller children, right? Like we're still carrying the things and those like emotions and memories and attachments to our parents and things. And so I have to imagine, even as an adult, like you're hearing it and you're in this really happy moment and it just like a wave or something kind of hits you.
And I'm like definitely a sentimental crier, like, weddings, like, I don't know. I think it's all the like psychology work and all like the tough things I hear, like that when there's something positive and sweet, I don't know. That's how I.
Oh, that's super
great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. That's a conversation for another time. Because sorry, that happens to me too. Like I worked in emergency medicine for a bit. Like I've seen some stuff. Don't cry, but like somebody like wins the Olympics or gets a medal or gets like honored in some way, and I'm like, like I'm a ball of like a mess, and it's like a happy thing. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So I'll fast forward us ahead a little bit.
All right.
Thinking about, just transitions, like the song you had earlier was a childhood memory, but it sort of seemed to still hit you in adulthood, even though you are at a totally different place in your life. And so this next question kind of, addresses those transitions. What's a song that you typically associate with a weighty transition in your life?
Yeah. And another one of those songs that it was like just so many answers I could have given for this, but again, trying to go projective psychology test style and come with the first thing that came to mind. A band called H2O. It's like a positive hardcore band. They did a song called Truth Within. And at the time I was finishing grad school, finishing my doctoral program, and wasn't sure my prospects were going to be. My wife was pregnant. I was very nervous about that. And, on paper, I should be confident, but I'm definitely somebody that gets riddled with self-doubt, with anxiety. And, I think I was looking for, something to give me some inspiration. So like going to my scriptures, like going to, my music catalog. And I think I want to say the CD like fell out of a CD case in my car. And I was like, oh wait, I remember this song. And at the time, a lot of the stuff I was listening to was like more, I don't know, like more party kind of rock and roll, garage rock stuff, like didn't have this kind of message. And I found this song, and it was just, it was so encouraging for me. And like, it sounds like a little bit cheesy and, with like the lyrics, but I think that this type of music is about that, about like just trying to tap into some inner strength and be positive and be hopeful, and it did the trick. Definitely gave me a boost.
Let's take a listen. We'll talk about it some more on the backside.
Stand up, set yourself free. The future is waiting while you search for and now the fear in me is gone. It's gone. I found the truth within. I'm strong. Only afraid of never knowing all the things I could have done.
Raza went somewhere. Raza was at the live show.
I was like,
Yeah.
I was gonna go ahead and ask, like, how does it feel to listen? But I could not because Raza was like in some sort of zone.
oh my God, the drummer is ridiculous. He's amazing. Yeah, no, Tyler, please, tell us, where does that song take you?
Yeah. I mean, I remember specifically, like when I popped it in, it was like after we had like a baby shower, and just all the anxieties and the worries about everything swirling around in my mind, and I was by myself in the car and popped it in, and just felt a lot better. Felt a lot more confident, and like to kick aside all the negative cognitive distortions that were swirling around in my mind, and tap into some of the strengths I have.
I love that term, positive hardcore. I mean, I've definitely. So I'm just to give you a little bit of background. I'm sort of like the resident metal guy on the.
Yeah, I know.
Actually,
I was catching
Dave and
that.
I both are, and but yeah, so I definitely have heard of sort of my share of hardcore music, punk music. This is definitely more on the more punky side. But I hadn't heard the term positive hardcore before, so. Maybe let's start
Me
there.
either.
That's obviously it has a positive message, but tell us about that. What how do you define positive hardcore, and how should we think of positive hardcore?
Ooh, I don't want to be the spokesperson and get a deluge of
The
backlash.
floor is yours, my friend.
How
from
do you
from the punk and hardcore community about
how do you understand?
Yeah, and I
positive
think some
hardcore?
people would count H2O as that type of band. Some people not, but yeah, when you get in the weeds of the sort of subgenres of music, there's a blend of hardcore that's a little bit about more positivity, that's a little bit more focused on kind of a straight edge lifestyle, animal rights, like kind of positive progressive social changes, that type of thing. In song content, typically around that, versus like there's some hardcore that's a little bit more angry and aggressive, and there's some stuff I listen to that just sounds like the gangster rap version of that's my mom. The gangster rap version of
She knows
hardcore.
we were talking about her.
Right. Here's Brennan. So I guess that's maybe the simplest way to sum it up.
Yeah,
That's cool. I had never heard of it before. So we'll say, don't come after Tyler in the comments. This is his interpretation.
Right.
And if anybody does, they're in the wrong, because this is a judgment-free podcast. That's the whole point. So yeah.
Completely.
I think that is going to be very like informative for some of the listeners, right? Because the whole point, this is not a positive hardcore focused podcast or a metal podcast, right? It's genre non-specific, right? And so I think some people that might not be into punk and hardcore and things like that might think that everyone's just angry as all hell and just wants to destroy and break down. That's of course out there, but knowing that this is out there and music of this style can have these messages, I think is really valuable for people to know.
Yeah. And Toby, who's the lead singer of H2O, he has a great podcast called One Life, One Chance, and I think he has like a charitable outreach arm of that too, where he has people on the podcast that have gone through some challenges, like a lot of folks that are in recovery from addiction or mental health issues, to put something inspiring out there, and really sourcing people from the music industry in particular. So he's still doing.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, Raza.
I was just gonna say I've noticed that more and more, especially like with the heavier sort of music genres that you think that are more aggressive sounding, I think, to the layperson, but obviously to us more sort of more schooled individuals who might think that no, there's actually like a really positive message. I mean, I can think of everyone from like Gojira recently, Seether, even Metallica has a not-for-profit or non-profit arm of their behemoth organization. But a lot of I'm noticing that more and more that heavier bands that people think that might be more aggressive, they are doing a lot of good work, actual good work, taking action, getting a good positive message out there, and supporting multiple variation of different types of causes. I mean, everything from like mental health issues, suicide prevention, veterans issues, homelessness. I know Metallica's foundation to support music education, instruments, feeding people that don't have access to food. I think that was one of the. I thought it was amazing. I mean, they pretty much every one of their tour stops, they have catering for their entire crew, and there's always leftovers. What do you do with these leftovers? Well, you donate them to local organizations, and there's a huge impact that they're having.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, really good to see, again, music that folks might not associate with positivity doing actual work toward positive change and social justice and things like that. So, yeah,
big time.
Love that.
Yeah, they're actually backing it up. They're not just singing about it; they're actually living it and doing it, right? But before we move on, I can see Carolina, wanting to move us along, maybe keep us in check here. But I do want to say one other thing just about this song, and kind of more of the podcast itself, and me starting it and doing it, because that line in here that you mentioned, only afraid of knowing all the things I could have done, as someone with PTSD and has been on the journey of trying to heal from that was really like moving to me. You sort of said the CD fell out, and it's sort of like the CD chose you. I feel like that kind of hit me and chose me too, in a way. And so, yeah, I just want to thank you for being open with it and sharing it, because it just, it really hit me and just made me connect so much more with it. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Hey, my pleasure. Yeah, that's if that's the name of the podcast, glad it's working.
Totally.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times with themes of transitions and weighty transitions, sometimes there's, David, to your point, that kind of grief that can come from wondering what could have been, or, alternative, futures that aren't, and kind of grieving those moments. But songs that kind of uplift you and make you feel like it's going to be okay, despite whatever the transition or what's weighing heavily on you, or decisions you need to make, like that's always pretty cool. And I like that the CD chose you. I think that's pretty awesome. And I've learned something new today, because I did not know about positive hardcore, and I'm not the resident metal hardcore listener of the three hosts, so I appreciate the new perspective. And it tees us up for our next question too, which is pretty cool. Right. What is a song that opened up an entirely new perspective for you, and how?
Yeah, another one of these questions that just so many answers I could have gone, but the one that really jumps out is a song called "Resisting Tyrannical Government" by a band called Propagandhi. It's a Canadian punk band. At the time I was listening to this, it was freshman year in college, and I don't know how much you guys had this experience of kind of being exposed to new political views, and just trying to make sense of that from like your experiences and your family of origin. And this was one that really helped me solidify my my worldview in my politics, because progressive politics are more so in I guess like the altruistic element of a focus on trying to help others was something that always really spoke to me. And my parents, who were like more on the Republican side, had different perspective in the sense of, well, we help others, like, you know, we donate, we like, you know, are like very involved in helping out in the community with their work and outside of work. And it was in this sense of, well, you know, why are you complaining about the government? Why are you complaining about you know, this capitalist system that's, you know, provided so well for, you know, our hardworking family and for other hardworking families? And you know, this song, I don't know if you want to just cue up the lyrics, because I just you know, I think it made everything click.
Yeah. Let's take a listen, and then we'll talk about it on the backside.
Why don't we plant a mechanic virus and erase the memory of machines that maintain this capitalist dynasty? And yes, I recognize the irony. The system I oppose affords me the luxury of biting the hand that feeds. That's exactly why privileged fucks like me should feel obliged to whine and kick and scream. Yeah, till everyone has everything they need.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like some of the whole Smash the State stuff, like I listen to it now and it's like, oh, like there's people doing that. I don't like, I'm not really what I'm about, like in theory. Yeah, when so like that part, but you know, the element of like, you know, should feel like to be privileged, but still, you know, it be your you know, your mission to like raise a fuss and make a stink to help other people who aren't in that position. That you can have it both ways. You know, that you can you know, be grateful, you know, for the people who helped you get where you are and supported you to give you a good existence, but also, you know, it's your job to try to help other people get there too. So yeah, I had to do a like an introspective paper in my my master's program. It was a clinical psychology program, and it was you know, write about lyrics that impacted you. And I just went on like a 2-page tear about about that song, and the professor was like, "What is this song? Like, what the hell did you hear this?" So
yeah,
so, yeah.
it's always one of these things. I like love when an artist expresses something like perfectly in like 10 seconds with like the perfect choice of words. I love it, but it's also frustrating for me at times because my grad work was in philosophy and social political philosophy and ethics and things like that. And so they just summed up that worldview in like 10 seconds. And I've written like, you know, 80-page papers and stuff to try and do it. You know, people are writing books about all of this stuff. And it's like, there it is, just boom, perfect. Because it's that thing of, like you said, it's not just about like the sort of like, let's just tear down the state, right? And just without much else to it. It's really getting at that nuance of like, no, like, because we've achieved something, we are in a position of success, or whatever you want to call it. That's exactly why, right? We should be doing this. So yeah, I just love the line.
Yeah, good. I'm glad it resonated with you as well.
I love that he talked about. I heard something about. I fully understand the irony of me talking about this stuff as someone who's probably benefited from it, but you know, don't take this as me whining about it. I'm trying to do something about it. That was cool too. It's very self-aware.
Yeah, and I've obviously like become more, you know, moderate in my political views, but you know, I think that's like what your early 20s, your late teens are all about, is, you know, kind of giving that fire in your belly to, you know, try to influence you in other parts of your life, like in a more, I guess, reasonable type of way than mechanic viruses that destroy capitalism.
I think that's part of the journey, isn't it? Is like when you're a teen it's like you do have a very sort of limited view of what's going on. You might see, stuff on the news. You might have parents that have a different political view because they've experienced, the whole journey, but they might not have explained it in a certain way. But I think part of the journey is for teens to have that sort of fire in their belly, hopefully go to school or learn about things from a broader perspective, and then maybe over the course of a few decades start to maybe temper those things and kind of meet folks in the middle somewhere, and hopefully not become completely passive and jaded and whatnot. But yeah, it's, I mean, I remember my views have definitely changed over the years, and now with kids and everything, it's like, well, why?
That's what I was going to say. When you have kids, that provides a whole new perspective.
A whole different perspective. Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool that this memory gave you different perspective. It was kind of tied to those like formative college years, because it resonated with me. I think I shared on my podcast, on my episode, I'm an immigrant. I didn't become a citizen until I was like 19, and I was so excited to vote. Like I was so excited once I became a citizen that like that was the thing I could do. But I had no real education in my house about American politics. It took a while for my family to become citizens, and they didn't really vote, things like that. So I learned from my political science class in like my freshman year. And it had like, I remember there was a page that had like a list of like Republicans feel this and like Democrats feel this. And I was like, I was like, all right, I guess I got to choose one of these. And the Republican side was kind of like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and hard work and like accountability and all that stuff. And I was like, well, that feels responsible. Like that. Okay. It's like, I'm a Republican, right? And I voted, I think I graduated from college, voted Bush the first time. And then I think life said, hold my beer, let me teach you some things. And then I was like done and like completely switched parties. But like, yeah, your view changes so much from just such a young, like, you're so young in college. You haven't really done a ton yet, seen a ton yet. So I wish maybe I would have been exposed to more music and less poli-sci. I don't know. I feel like that would maybe taught me more
digestible, right?
Literally, it was like a table with like pros, cons, and options, and I was like, that one feels right.
Yeah, like choosing your elective in school.
Yeah. That one feels right.
So more education made you vote more conservative. That's interesting.
Yeah.
or conservative, quote unquote.
Yeah. It was business school education.
Oh, of course.
For what it's worth.
Capitalism,
right?
Of course.
Right. Right. I want to say
lower them taxes.
Finance professor ran like a hedge fund or something. Like this was the table was skewed, like clearly, kind of thing. And then you like go out into the real world and see how things really shake out. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Health insurance costs money. Oh crap.
What the hell happened to my paycheck?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Well, and I give Propagandhi credit because I mean in the 90s, which the punk was, it wasn't a lot of it wasn't all that political, and the bigger indie labels, and their album like just had a lot of like poignant stuff that I think was ahead of its time in terms of criticisms of globalization and animal rights and kind of awareness around like homosexuality and abuse, like just stuff that now I mean people are just sort of accept and are talking about, but at the time was just so so out there and
right,
like so fringe. So
right. I mean, the common refrain back then was like, no talk about politics at the dinner table, right? It was like we just don't, discuss that stuff.
Yeah.
How times have changed, unless, in your house, you're still not talking about it at the dinner table, but I think it's cool. And I think the more you're exposed to things, you realize it is sort of the artists out in the world kind of, pushing that envelope and challenging society to do better,
Yeah. And such an important role for society, right? The artists, right? People that I was going to say are free from some of these things, but we're all underneath it, but their chosen path gives them the freedom to express these thoughts and connect with us. So yeah.
Yeah. To quote it again, to whine, kick, and scream till everyone has what they need, which is super cool. That was the other reason I laughed and I said that was awesome. When I teach workshops about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we talk about privilege a lot because it's a must and a necessity. And I was like chuckling at like, maybe I should just play the song and be like, this is what you need to do. You're privileged. I was like, this is so cool.
Oh, that would be epic. Once if you end up getting another job, your last workshop, like when you're up in New York talking to the hedge funds and stuff and talking about diversity, just pop this song on and just see what happens.
Yeah, I'll just run the lyrics up the thing and then they'll escort me out with security and that'll be it.
Right.
That'll be it. All right. Moving us ahead from like idealistic, inspiring, really cool social progress and those things. There's sometimes another side to music. Sometimes there are challenging or difficult memories, songs we struggle to listen to or get through. And so I'll pivot us a little bit and ask you about a song that you struggle to listen to or need to even sometimes turn off because it's just a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. As I've said with the prior 3 songs, like, just so many ones that come up. The song "Somewhere Out There" from An American Tale. I don't know who the artist was, and it was like People Bryson or somebody did the Luther Vandross maybe did like the studio version of it, but
and Linda Ronstadt did the studio one. I want to say, yeah,
gotcha.
Served me correctly.
We looked it up. That was not sitting in there.
No. That was from preparing for the show. I did not just know that off the top of my head by any means.
Yeah, keep them honest, Carolina.
Totally just threw them under.
Yeah, right. I guess at around that time was maybe not too long before there. My family had moved from living with my mom's parents and living around them in Kansas. I was very close, very attached to them growing up, and we moved to Pittsburgh, and I missed them terribly, and went and saw American Tail with my mom in the theater in Squirrel Hill, and the movie, it's just about him being separated from his family, and Somewhere Out There, like I was just 5-year-old boy crying in Pittsburgh. Like that's not a good look in the movie theaters. But yeah, like one of those that still gets me.
Let's take a listen. Everybody get your tissues ready.
We have to.
You can take your earphones out if you want.
All right.
How you doing?
Caught me off guard. I guess yeah. I don't know how long it's been since I've listened to that, and I guess that's why.
Yeah. I'll give you a minute for folks who are not familiar with the movie. It was an animated. I don't even know if it's Disney, but an animated feature came out in the 80s, mid 80s. And it's about this little mouse and his family, and they are immigrating from Russia to the United States. And somewhere along the way, they get separated. And so this little kid, the little baby mouse, needs to, find a way to reunite with his family. And it's like heart-wrenching, right? It's an immigrant story. It's a tale. And we wanted to make sure to not give the radio studio version, but the movie version, because it's a child singing. Like I was telling David, I think Frozen and other movies, it's adult cast members singing as their child characters are. But this, you can tell by the way this little kid's voice cracks. It's a child singing. And so like, yeah. Rough.
Yeah, and I love my grandparents a lot, and they still live in Kansas, and I see them a couple times a year, and like still when I leave them, I get emotional, and I tell my kids like, hey, like it's all right, and when they my kids sometimes when they leave my parents after they've been they get sad and emotional, and I'm like, hey, I know how you feel, like just that like growing up in the 80s in Pittsburgh, showing emotion, sadness. We're not crying after losing a football game. That's okay. It's not not an okay thing to do, be a P word. Was so, but men still feel emotion, usually it gets transferred into anger, and that's way less healthy. So, I feel like nowadays the tide is turning, and men can talk about emotion and be emotional in a safe space, like in a more acceptable way, because I think people just saw that it was unhealthy, just sort of stuff down, all the negative emotion and only show anger.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this was another one. I hadn't heard this song since probably like when I was, single digits in age. And so, just again, in this way of, kind of the universe giving you what you need or whatever, something like that. When I heard this, I just like you immediately started bawling. I was able to keep it together now because I've listened to it a number of times over the last couple of days preparing for the podcast. But no, the first few times it was just like people talk about Bambi as the movie that gets up. Like, no, to me it's American Tail. I remember watching it and just being like wrecked by it. You're just like so much. And I share that again to say like, I've been on this, healing journey the past few years of trying to, heal from, PTSD. And like you were saying about men and whatnot, for 15 years, I, realized I wasn't really feeling emotion. I think I had cried maybe 2 or 3 times in like 15 years. And at weird times too, like when my dad passed away, didn't cry, just like it just wasn't there. And now, as I've been getting better, I'm like crying all the time and stuff. And it's tough because it's like it's that open thing. Like you said, you want to hold it in because you're like, no, got to keep it together. Got to hold it on. Got to, suck it up. Don't be a pussy. And, got to do it. And so you got that thing where it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. But then it also feels so good to like feel, and you're like, this is reminded of that Seinfeld episode where it's like, what's this salty discharge? Yeah. So again, that is just to say thank you for another good song that I connected with. So
yeah, well thanks for give me some solidarity there.
Totally, I was right there with you.
Good.
Yeah.
Why do you guys think that is? The men crying, men showing emotion, things like that. I mean, I'm a man. I'm just asking because I cry all the time on a dime. But I'm really curious as far as, do you guys think that it's like is it a cultural thing? Are we noticing sort of like a cultural shift and maybe recognition about male emotions and how obviously we know that not showing emotion, if you're holding stuff in, at some point it's going to blow up in some way. It has to come out. But I think I'm really curious, and maybe Tyler, you might be a good person to explain that from a professional standpoint. But is it just like the recognition of that? Is that just we're talking more and more about it? Is it just because it's high time? Do we have obviously we've like as in America, men have been through a lot, especially veterans. Wars definitely change things. They have a generational impact. We know that. But yeah, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that? Why is it that we have a better understanding and recognition of it now? And how do we navigate that moving forward?
Yeah. Great question. I mean, I think it's probably a confluence of different factors. I mean, I think for one, mental health awareness has just gotten so much more prolific. It's everywhere now, and we're talking about podcasts. Like, how many of the podcasts I listen to are sponsored by BetterHelp, and it's men saying, "Oh, just very glibly, I do therapy and help me, blah blah blah, figure some stuff out." I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it, and I mean, I think people realizing, I think there's this conversation around toxic masculinity, and I mean, I think that's a loaded term, but I think there's there's some elements of truth behind that, of like men just kind of stuffing down their emotions and not having healthy ways to deal with emotions, and that leading to anger and acting out, substance use, and all kind of terrible stuff. And that, like, the suicide rate for men, especially middle-aged men, it's like the highest of like any groups, right? I don't know the numbers. I should, but yeah, it's again probably a number of different things. I think there's some communities that still have that stigma more than others. There was a rapper that did Speak Your Truth this year named Stan Kells, and he did a song called War Cry about, like, more so in the Black community, about like this very issue of like stuffing down emotions, and then kind of coming out in unhealthy ways. Like, so I got put a plug in for Stan Kells, and check out his stuff on YouTube and Instagram, because yeah, I mean, this song was just I think captured that in such a good way. Just like, for me as a psychologist working with people from different backgrounds, yeah, there's definitely some cultures that still battling that harder than others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's been cool to see and promising and hopeful for me, as now somebody older who's got kids, and my friends have kids, and is watching my friends become fathers, and the kinds of fathers that they are. Like, I think this generation growing up now in spaces where they're encouraged to feel all the feelings, and it's okay to miss and grieve and cry and have healthy outlets, makes me super hopeful, because that was not the case. I'll just speak for my household, but it wasn't the case growing up. And so to see, like, just the break in generational curses and challenges is super cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just going, I appreciate, Tyler, you bringing up, toxic masculinity and these terms, because it's, there's a misconception, I think, out there about people hear toxic masculinity and they take it as describing men as toxic.
Right.
Like that's what men are, toxic. Right. And it's like, no, there's all kinds of masculinities out there, and the toxic one is one kind, and it's a bad one because of everything you described. So yeah. I just really, I appreciate that. And so, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was a struggle, obviously, and hard to listen to.
Mhm.
But there are songs that sometimes help pull us out of difficult times and situations, right? They give us hope, they lift us up. So we'll transition to that. What's a song, Tyler, that's helped you through a difficult time or situation?
Yeah. To skip the preamble, Ronnie song by Tim Berry was definitely one of those that got me through a tough time. Tim Berry is lead singer of a punk band called Avail, and just caught wind that he was doing this more like kind of folk, Americana, countryish type of stuff. Not really anything that I listened to. I usually avoided that stuff, but I was like, okay, let me check out what he's got, and it was just the most raw, gut wrenching songs that were, just like a punch in the gut. And one of the songs was Ronnie's song was about losing a friend to suicide, and it was about just things that he didn't like that was going on in his hometown, and just trying to make sense of that. And at the time I was listening to that, I was like just finally getting my head above water after finishing up grad school and getting licensed, and having kids. And during that time, I had a lot of losses to people with people with opioids. Family members, and one of my best friends from growing up died, like one of my last years of grad school. And I don't think I had time to really process that, because I was just had my head down, was just grinding constantly. And like that was like this confluence of times again where I could kind of come up for air, and wasn't extremely stressed and overwhelmed. And then listening to this music, it just got me very emotional, and kind of made me want to do something with that pain, and kind of drove me to try to find some healthier ways to want to give back, or maybe like do something positive, like with just out of all like the hurt that I saw with people like in my sphere who were affected by mental health and addiction. And kind of wasn't too long after that I joined NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and was on their board of directors, and kind of doing stuff outside the office to try to make some bigger change around mental health awareness. And then Speak Your Truth kind of evolved from that. So yeah, and the song was just, again, like the album's so powerful. And I wrote to Tim Berry, and I was like, oh my God, like this was so good. Thank you for writing this. And he wrote back like a very gracious response, and like, I mean, what good fan service.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So
well, let's take a listen.
Yeah.
Still I walk this town, hoping to get lost somehow. It seems by now, though, I've smoothed the path in every sidewalk. It's all painted black and gold, black tar where once stood homes, gold in the hand of each student-based franchise. And I sat at the river with Ronnie, watching the cormorants and the osprey diving for their prey. He asked about old friends. I said I ain't seen none of them. He said, how'd you get here, man? And why'd you stay? Come on, brother, let's make a list of all those gone that we still miss. Let's make a list of what they believed, and we still do. Like living first and working last, and beating the day before it's past. Like what's mine is yours, man, and what's yours is mine. I think I'll stay here getting older and angrier and getting louder with each passing day. And think about old friends and all that I have learned from them. They may have moved on, man, but we'll all be gone someday.
How's it feel listening to it now?
Good. Yeah. I mean, it takes me right back. Yeah. And again, nothing else in my music catalog was anything near that at that point, with
Sure.
punk, metal, some hip hop, reggae, like not like a sad folk country song, but
Yeah.
I think just it just a powerful emotion, and like just with the lyrics sort of summing up these experiences, not 100%, but the essence of it, of missing friends, of feeling disappointed with what's going on in your hometown, and wanting to stay and feeling guilty for leaving, but probably better that you
Mhm.
aren't around. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna check on David and Raza. How you two doing? You okay?
Man, life is hard.
Life is hard. It's hard.
It's so hard. It's hard out there, man.
Yeah.
That's basically what the music does. It lets us know we're not alone in that, right? I mean, that's about all we can do, is like not be alone.
I think we've all done a lot of moving around, leaving people behind, leaving places behind, struggled, hopefully are on, at least on the path to something better, something that makes a difference, with ourselves and the people around us. But yeah, shit's hard, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Raza.
I was just going to say that, and then I think we just got done talking about the whole male angle of it, and yeah, I'd be lying if I said that as a father, as a man, you don't feel certain obligations that, I'm not going to say that are like above and beyond, but I certainly grew up in more of a sort of a traditional household, and there's definitely roles and pressures and things like that are specific to being a dad and having those responsibilities and those obligations. Not to take anything away from the better halves in our lives, but yeah, there's definitely at least 50% of the struggle. So I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge the 50%. That's all. But yeah, no, it's I like that song. It's good.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. I usually try and do about 30 seconds to a minute of a song. And this one I was just like, no, you know what? It's my damn podcast. I'm going to play more because it's that good. There was just points that I'm like, I don't want to cut that line out. I don't want to cut that one out. So that's what we're going with. But yeah, just, this is one I didn't know about before, so like just, in starting this podcast, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to get exposed to some new music and stuff. And it's been happening, and just in the like most wonderful ways possible, because like this song was just, I feel like I've said this after every one of your songs of like, thank you for giving me this song. But this is another one that's been that way, because just some of the lines in there, just, of like, I forget the exact line, but he's like, I'm trying to find a sidewalk I haven't worn down in this town. And I can't, because, I've walked everywhere, and just that I want to get away from all of these things, but don't. And just, like Raza said, life is hard. And so like just hearing it, it was, really good. Really great song.
Thanks.
Yeah, I could feel it got you, because normally, like you said, it is 30 seconds. And for those listening just the audio and not watching the YouTube version of the podcast. David's got his eyes closed and I'm like, oh, we're just gonna keep going. Like you were just in like a deep trance of this song. Which is pretty cool. And Tyler, I love that something really awesome and beautiful came out of your experience with this song. We'll queue up your sixth song, but it does tie to your organization, and we 100% want to learn more.
Yeah.
So I'll tie that up first, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. But what's been your most moving live music experience?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I guess what's fresh in my mind is it was Speak Your Truth, because that was just in July, and the music was a big part of that, and I usually have some sense of like what people are going to do, what people are going to perform. It's artists, like I'm kind of familiar with their work, and one of the gals that I invited, her name was Carly Winter, and I saw her. She was doing a music event for this project called Hi, How Are You? It's kind of to honor the memory of Daniel Johnston, who was a famous musician who had bipolar disorder. So she was performing some cover songs for him, but so I knew she was like kind of aligned mental health wise, but that was about it. And I knew that she would be an advocate and like say some kind words about mental health. But she gets up there, and this was kind of later in the evening, and she said, well, I was going to do this upbeat song, but I heard everybody else kind of being open and being vulnerable. It made me want to do this heartfelt song called Chemicals. I won't get into her story, but she was open about like just some some really challenging parts in her life, and didn't realize that she was in high school, and just had this this pretty awful experience in school. So she was very emotional and vulnerable, and the whole crowd just like pretty much burst into tears, and I think because it just resonated with everybody to a certain extent about that those tough times in high school, and can relate in some way, shape, or form. and her song just knocked everybody's socks off. It was so beautiful. I was one of the masses that was emotional from that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're able to pull up that song because it's probably not really even released or recorded.
Yeah, because she's new and exploding. Yeah, it's
right.
It was tough to find some stuff, but there was some things, and I found a song that kind of has the same kind of feel to it. So what we're going to listen to is her song "Drug Dealer's Daughter," which very much goes along with that same feel and very much of "Speak Your Truth." Cool. So let's take a listen.
And I know that. Don't ask me where'd my little girl go, 'cause mama, I've been right here, and you still don't seem to know. I won't ask you how you afford to put a roof over my head, 'cause it's almost 4 a.m. You could be home, but I'm here alone instead. The priest can't bless your heart, and you deny the holy water. Will I always be the drug dealer's daughter? Oh, 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 oh. Will I always be the drug dealer's daughter? Oh, oh.
Dang. Yeah, I hadn't heard that song. I don't know if that's autobiographical. I don't necessarily think so, but I think she's a great storyteller, and Chemical certainly was more autobiographical. It was one of those that so many people were like, wow, if there was like an A&R person here, she would be like just snatch it up. It was like, well, where were you when you first saw Carly Winter perform?
That's right. I was right there.
Mental health event. Yeah. So that was definitely a very moving one, because it definitely caught me off guard. I was expecting a little like kind of cheery pop tune, and yeah.
Yeah.
She hit us hard.
I feel like there's a thread with your songs that you picked, and I feel like less the melody or the instruments or the music, and more about like the songwriting aspect.
Probably.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, because I'm not a musician by any means. Like, so, like when you guys are talking about like drum lead, it's like way over my head. But I'm not necessarily a writer either, but I'm a psychologist and a man of words. So I think that the emotional content probably really resonated. And mind you, there's a lot of music I listen to where you cannot hear vocals at all. It sounds like Cookie Monster or a dog barking or something. But so vocals don't always make a difference. But yeah, I would say the ones that like really get to me probably the lyrically heavy ones. Yeah.
Well, these are all heavy too, just in a different way.
Right.
Heavy subject matter.
You're right.
Yeah. Got to go listen to
lyrics.
some Cannibal Corpse after this to relax.
Yeah. That was on the jams last night. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But
sorry, David, go.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Nope.
I'll ask you a question real quick. Yeah, so you mentioned hearing this live at the festival. Do you want to maybe talk more about that? Maybe the sort of premise behind it, and for the audience and for and for the co-hosts.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So as a good promoter, I'm wearing my speaking shirt.
Love it.
Yeah, so in 2017, my colleague David and I were on the board of directors with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we were tasked with making some sort of fundraiser. And then somebody said, "Why don't you do a 5K?" Those were popular; those raised a lot of money, and we were both not real hyped on that. We kind of felt like that was too devoid from the message, and we both kind of went off and brainstormed and both kind of had this idea about an art and mental health event. And at the time, people thought it was, kind of a harebrained idea and just like, how was that going to work? And somehow it did. We just along the way were meeting people that were kind of tuned into this. One of the co-hosts, one of the co-organizers, Malcolm, Justice, a Genius Child. He's an MC and a producer, and like host a big open mic recurring event in Annapolis. His family had been affected by mental illness, so he just was quick to jump on it as well. And the arts community in Annapolis is extremely supportive and close and goes to bat for each other. And I'm just lucky to be doing it in a town like that where just the cooperation and the buy-in from folks really helped it, grow bigger and bigger every year. So, we had, I don't know, maybe like 40 different speakers this year.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was,
that's awesome.
And, people, just are encouraged, by, or feel inspired by coming and like give us a lot of good feedback. So it's just makes us want to do it year after year. So appreciate you having the opportunity to, plug a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. We'll link it down in the show notes and stuff too, so people can find the info about it.
Great.
Yeah. Harebrained idea 1, naysayers 0.
Right.
Take that 5K.
That's right.
That's awesome.
No, that's such a fantastic idea. Engaging people, having artists come in and I mean, just like your T-shirt says, speak your truth. Fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I'd like to support harebrained ideas more, to be honest. I think someone called the iPhone a harebrained idea too at some point.
Early adopters. Yeah.
Yeah. No one's going to do this internet thing.
Yeah.
Tyler, is it just music artists or spoken word or visual artists? Is it like an array of
Yeah.
different artists at the
Yep,
event?
it's a big tent. We say speakers in quotations. So anywhere from visual artists to poets, musicians, of course, comics. We had a burlesque dancer for the first time this year, and wasn't
right.
sure like
Nice.
kind of how that was going to work, and it worked perfectly. I mean, she was in tears at the end of it, and
Wow.
I was just aghast. Like, it was something that she said was kind of done to sort of transcend some trauma that she'd been through, and so it stuns me every year to see how people kind of use their art and creativity to I guess raise awareness, to either just get through it, to connect with other people. So I love it. It's a passion project.
How do people find out about it, or how do you do people apply to be part of it, and do you review, or is it more like, I don't know if it was said before, like open mic where it's just anyone walks up, or
So I usually just pester anybody that I have an inkling that's an artist. That I was on vacation with my family, and there was a stand-up comic that was talking about mental illness, and I was just like hounding him about doing it.
Yeah.
His name is Graham Kay, and he has some really good stuff about autism awareness. So I'm hoping to pull him in on it. So it's usually just me or my colleagues as well, just pestering people to be part of it.
As the host of a new podcast, I totally get what you're saying of trying to track
and
people
we
and
have
stuff
it in person, but then we have folks that can't be there in person submit videos. We have like a kind of curated video
nice
of clips. So if you know anybody, send them my way.
Your way.
We'll do. So anybody listening, go do it. Go speak your truth.
Cool.
Like it.
All right, Tyler, we have gone through your 6 songs. How does it feel to hear your life reflected in 6 songs?
This was great. This was a lot of fun. I wanted to share this with so many people, and I did, some of the questions, because I think it's just such great conversation starters, and there were some kind of illuminating things that came out of these questions with other people. So I really love what you guys are doing, and I'm really honored to for this to be my first podcast experience.
Awesome. Yeah. Nice.
So,
you did a great job.
Thank you.
Say.
Thank you.
In your preparation and in your just openness and vulnerability, because it's, when I got the idea to do this, it was this, very much this sort of next step of so many of the songs we talked about of I don't want to, think about all the things I could have done. And so it was no, let's do this. Let's, I want to have these conversations. It's, reconnect with people and things like that. And so I just thoroughly enjoyed this. These hour or two of just, talking to you and being here is just the most present I have felt in a while and stuff. Great. And so it's just really great to just have these conversations and just connect with this music. And thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, you 3 did a great job of just making this whole thing feel comfortable, and to kind of get me in a place to be vulnerable, which not always easy to do.
Sure.
So,
All right. We're not ready to let you go yet.
Okay.
All right. We have our lightning round.
Lightning round.
And it's just first concert, last concert, best concert.
Okay.
Go.
So, first concert, Lollapalooza, 1995. That was the first one that kind of orchestrated myself to get to and go. Tremendous concert. Hole was the was the main attraction.
Yeah.
And just being 13 years old and being exposed to everything that Lollapalooza had to offer.
Nice. Bigger go home.
Yeah, and I met Moby, and he performed "Sweet Home Alabama,"
awesome.
and I got his autograph from my cousin who loved Moby. So she's an older cousin, so I felt like a cool cousin being able to get Moby's autograph. He's best concert. Yeah, probably that one too. I mean, I think just I've been to other well, there's so many good concerts, big and small, but that was that one I think just making the biggest mark.
Nice.
Last concert,
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to come
Yeah.
after that.
yeah, for sure.
And that's great because so many people's first time is not their best. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. I'm sure I got dragged. I got dragged along to other music events that I didn't necessarily want to go to, but that was the first that I sort of was my brainchild.
Right.
Last concert was 2 Fridays ago at a little venue called the Depot in Baltimore. Shout out to the Depot. But cool little kind of dive bar, metal venue. I happened to had to run to my office in Baltimore and caught wind that there was going to be a show there, and saw 3 really good kind of thrash metal bands in this tiny little place the size of this kitchen, and had a blast.
Oh.
It was $10, and
Oh,
That's
but
so
nice.
good.
yeah, and I mean got to vibe with the bands afterwards and stuff like that. So I love a dirty, dingy little metal show.
I love the fact that they're coming back because during pandemic everything was shut down, and then now the things have obviously opened up. Festivals are back, but I think the best thing about everything coming back is these little dive bar type tight. You can smell the wood and the rust and, the sweat and everything.
You're not getting 6 feet away from everybody
I
in
know.
one of those
Yeah.
places. No.
Yeah.
Those days are gone.
And that was
but
actually
there's something
the
so
first.
special.
Yeah, and that was the first at that venue was the first indoor show I'd been to post COVID. So that was kind of a special place in my heart too. It was another one seeing good little local metal bands put on a fun show.
Nice.
Yeah, here's to the little dive bars. We need them.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
All right, Tyler. So as we prepare to sign off from our time together today, in the last couple minutes we have left, we'd love for us to hear and our audience to hear. Tell us what you've got going on, how people can get in contact with you if they're interested in Speak Your Truth or just connecting with you and getting to know you. What you got going on?
Sure. Yeah. So again, main reason I'm here, plug in Speak Your Truth. Already am making mental preparations for next July. If you're on Instagram, it's Speak Your Truth Crew. You could probably
Crew.
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 CREW. I don't know how my Pittsburghese made that sound. Yeah, CREW. But yeah, in the I don't have great SEO with the website, but I'm sure you can Google it. Speak Your Truth. Annapolis. There's a lot of content on YouTube as well. Yeah, check it out. So
Nice.
let us know if you want to be
Yeah,
a
we'll-
part of it.
For everybody listening, we'll have all that in the show notes. So check them out.
Thank you. Because again, not good at SEO with it. So
Damn algorithms.
you got it. So
All right. Well, Tyler, I think I've said it a lot throughout. Thank you. But really, wow. When I got the idea for this, I thought it would be cool, but you never really know. And this has just far exceeded any expectation, I could have for it. So this, just thank you for that.
my pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Caroline,
right.
I definitely enjoyed listening to yours. And I wanted to ask you, David and Raza, so many more questions. So I can't wait to hear your interviews as well.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll do. All right, everybody, all you listeners out there, make sure, hey, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And always, if there's someone you want to hear from, let us know. And just like Tyler's doing with Speak Your Truth, we'll try and track them down and get them on the show. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Peace.